Good morning, everybody. This is Jon Kovach with the Circle of Knowledge podcast, president of Amplified Minds and founder of the Champion Circle. Hey, this morning I wanted to kick off and go live for a few minutes here and also share with you just some of my thoughts as we continue to discuss various opportunities and incredible knowledge on how to become a better salesperson or a better seller. I wanted to dive deeper into some of the books that we've reviewed and some of the principles that we love in the book or the ebook that we provided to you for free, which is The Mindset of a Successful Seller. And before we do that, I wanted to jump right in here and just read from one of my favorite daily readings, which is the Millionaire Booklet by Grant Cardone. And I just wanted to read it a quick quote because I've been thinking about this a lot. And I've been thinking about this a lot because a lot of people have advice and a lot of people want convenience and a lot of people want things that make life easier. But as I've reviewed and I've studied and I've listened to and I've observed millionaire after millionaire after millionaire, and after I've learned how they became successful, I recognized this one principle. I'm on page 12, guys. We're inching our way through this book, and this book is only 44 pages long. So in the Millionaire Booklet by Grant Cardone, he says, never take advice from a quitter or a pretender. I tell you this because where I got my advice early on was mostly because or from observing my surroundings. I organically learned from my immediate environment and adopted the philosophies of the closest to me. I grew up in the middle class. My father worked very hard to create a middle class life for us, and this was a big accomplishment for them. Both my mother and father were brought up poor. My dad made it into the middle class, and shortly after, he died at a young age of 52. So again, never take advice from a quitter or a pretender. And I've been thinking about this because, again, I've been studying and watching and reading up and observing a lot of wealthy people. And a lot of times we expect life to be easy. We expect it to be simple. We expect it to be everything we dreamed of. And that's the truth if you want to live in the middle class, right? If you jump from poverty level to middle class, you will feel that sense of accomplishment. You will have an awareness of your surroundings and realize that that's the life you're going to live for the very, very long time, unless you take action. And I love this because a lot of people are taking advice from other people who they ought not to take advice from. And this is not to offend anybody, but we're taking advice from family. We're taking advice from friends. We're taking advice from people who are also middle class, who are also failing, who are also not where they should be or where they want to be or where they dream to be, where they're settling for mediocrity, where they're working hard tirelessly, but they're not actually getting results. So in my mind, a lot of successful people challenge the system. They challenge the status quo. They challenge the way things are, and they work in a direction that actually gets them their results. And that kind of talks a little bit more today about our principle from the book, Mindset of a Successful Seller by Amplified Minds, okay? And as we dive a little bit deeper, we're on the topic of selling the invisible, okay, by Harry Beckwith. And selling the invisible, principle 2, I want to go over is really, really important when it comes to building relationships. And that's something we talk a lot about on this show, on my live hour at noon, and in general. Amplified Minds focuses on the relationships of people. And in the second principle, I want to read you something. Speak to people like they're real people with real problems. Get them to dominate the conversation by asking the right questions. When they realize for themselves that your offer is needed, they've made the decision to buy versus feeling like they've been sold. So we'll dive into this a little bit more here, but speak to people like they're real people with real problems. Okay, none of this, and I had an experience about this the other day, okay? I jumped onto a group call, and the group challenge was to have a list of 10 people to reach out to. So I reached out to 10 people. But while I was reaching out to 10 people, I got this sudden feeling Like, oh man, that person might not want to buy, or this person may not want to talk, or this person's probably going to be skeptical. And I already started putting in my head their excuses, and I started creating excuses for them why they wouldn't be interested, or why they wouldn't attend an event or an online Zoom meeting or whatever. And because of that, I recognized how I was creating a roadblock for myself by already assuming that the rejection was going to be real. And I thought that that was stupid, because what I do is I support people. I offer help to people. I give people things. I'm not going in with a mindset that if I sell this person, I get this money. And if I sell this person, I get this commission, right? That's the wrong mindset ever, period. But when you go in with a mindset and treat people like real people who have real problems, then you can help them. You can solve their problems. And I think that that's a very, very important principle, because a lot of people think that money is the solution. But money is not the solution. Money is a byproduct of the solution. The solution is helping people, is giving them what they need and what they want. Get them to dominate the conversation by asking the right questions. I'm going to pull up a list of questions here that I think are absolutely incredible. And we've talked a lot about this on our show and in various groups, but I would say that one of my favorite, pulling up a slideshow here. One of my favorite questions to ask people is, how can we work together? Okay, how can we make this work? After you've served them, after you've talked to them, after you've gotten them to dominate the conversation and got them to say yes, right? Because that's what it's about. You're serving them. Put yourself in the seat of a doctor. You go to a doctor because you're not feeling well. The doctor says, look, I know you're not feeling well, so here's a few recommendations I have. So you say, what's up, doc? And the doc says, I would like to see your current feelings improve as you spend less time eating junk food and eating more vegetables. I would also like to see you take this pill once or twice a day. And I highly suggest you do so with a meal in your belly. And so what you say or respond to that is, okay, doc, yes, doc, and you go on your way. But you trust that what he's suggesting to you is edified, right? It's something that you definitely want to listen to. You know that he has information and knowledge that's going to help you feel better. So when you treat humans like humans who have real problems, and you focus on what they need to know by serving them, you open up a world of opportunity to build a better, stronger relationship with that human being. Asking the right questions will lead you to get that. How would it feel to have no pain? It's a good question. How would it feel to not have that problem? It's an even better question. What would you do if you had X, Y, or Z? Why is that important to you? How can you make that happen? Who can help you get there? If I had every solution to your problems, would you be willing to work with me? Those are a bunch of great questions that lead to the conversation. And so I suggest and I advise that you think about the types of questions you would want to ask somebody. Now, instead of focusing on the sell, focus on the questions you can ask. But the questions will emerge when you do a lot of listening. Now, I've been approached recently, and somebody said, "Well, what if you're on a call and you decide to let them talk and you listen, and you recognize that at the end you have no leverage or power because they've done all the talking?" I said, "Then you've done it wrong. You didn't ask the right questions. The right questions will lead to the right discussion. How's your day going, or how are you doing, or what's going on, or tell me about your background, or the open, vague questions do not lead to action. They lead to stories. They lead to drawn out responses. Think of it as a test if you were taking a survey or some sort of quiz. Okay. Every quiz has a suggested group of answers if it's multiple choice. But the second there's that open blank box where it says interpret, there's a small text box where it's like, add a few words to answer, or add an open-ended question. If you add an open-ended question that's too big and too vague, dude, they might go on for hours. Let me tell you a story about one of my friends. Her name's Lila. Lila calls me up one day, and I was supposed to be in the position of the pitch. Okay, we developed a relationship. We set up a call, and then I just recognized that Lila had a lot of things going on in her life. So I just sat there and listened, but I asked 2 questions the entire time. I said, what are you working on? And how can I help? Because I had no idea. And she went off on what she was working on. And she said, it'd be helpful if I had this, this, and this. And I said, well, that's awesome because I can do exactly that. And then she said, but wait, I don't even know you. And it says, doesn't matter. You told me that I can help you. I can help you. And I'd love to get to know you. And I'd love to share with you more about me. She says, I'd like that. I said, great, let's set up another call to talk about that. But in the meantime, I'm here to serve you and help you. And that call went very, very well. And she became one of my clients. I became one of her clients. And we worked together for a year. It was awesome. And I really, really love that experience. So asking the right questions. When the people that you're talking to realize for themselves that your offer is needed, they've made the decision to buy versus feeling like they've been sold. And that is how it is. Okay. I recently made a purchase, mostly because it made sense to me and not because the person I talked to made me feel like I was sold. The person was a little robotic. The person was a little bit stiff, but it didn't matter because they addressed my problems. They addressed some of the things that I could provide, and it worked out very, very well. So I think this is a great principle to talk about in the book, Selling the Invisible by Harry Beckwith, and that you do need to treat people like humans. And the more you do, the more you develop those relationships, the deeper that relationship will go. I was just talking to someone the other day, one of my coaches and one of my mentors, and I basically just said, look, I still believe that relationships are deepened when there's more transactions between them. And they said, please explain, because sometimes people feel scammed. Some people feel bad when family is trying to sell to family, like you're just trying to make money off me. It's this bad perspective, right? But the truth is when you're serving people, the money doesn't matter. And we've got to remind ourselves that. So when you come in with the right questions prepared and the right information, now don't have a script of questions, but just have a direction, right? And know that whatever you do, you're helping someone know that you can solve their problem. And I think that's super important. So there you go. There's our principle on selling the invisible with Harry Beckwith. Speak to people like they're real people. Listen to them. Let them dominate the conversation. Ask them really good questions. Really good questions. And when then they know that you can take care of them because you have their solution, they will feel like you've solved it rather than they've been sold. It's an incredible principle from an awesome book. So this has been a short discussion on sales in the Circle of Knowledge podcast. Thanks for joining me this morning. I want to make a quick shout out to Taylor Douglas. Thank you for the applause and the hands up and the excitement emojis. I appreciate that. And Rick Denley, hey, glad you're here, man. And I hope that your podcast is going well too. I also wanted to make a quick shout out to several people who have reviewed our podcast. And let me just pull them up here. Several people who have made a few comments on our podcast. And as I pull Apple Podcasts up, I'm going to pull up the Circle of Knowledge. And I would just like to say thank you for the 20 new ratings at a 5-star rating on iTunes. Thank you so much. And I'd love to make a shout out to their name is Improvement by Unique Name, someone who did not want to be named, but they said, "Yo, thanks for the motivation. Keep it going," was my takeaway. I love that. And somebody else said, "Keep it going. It's so good." That was Grego PWN. And then Drooly Kid said, "This one gave me a lot of insight and knowledge. Very well put together and super interesting. We'll keep you addicted for hours." Wow, that was awesome. Those are some great reviews. And the last one I want to read, and that was by Drooly Kids. This one's by Slappy ZSGH. I hope I got that right. Slappy ZSGH says, "I absolutely love this, taking the best tips from books, lessons, successful people, and putting it into one place to help other entrepreneurs grow. Really amazing. Thank you, and keep up the great work." Thank you, you guys. And if you end up listening and you hear me talking about your review, please send me an email at Jon, Jon, at amplifiedminds.com. When you do, say, "Hey, I heard you share my review over the phone. I will give you a free gift." How's that? I will send you a gift. And that gift is in the form of one of our great sources of knowledge, and I cannot wait to share it with you. So again, if you love and enjoy the Circle of Knowledge podcast, please go like and subscribe on iTunes. You can also find us on any podcast platform, including Spotify or Google Play. You can even find us on the Anchor app, which is my preferred method, because that's where I also launch my podcast, and it's also where I can collaborate with other podcasters. So pretty exciting, and I love it. So I appreciate you guys. If you're looking for how to go and leave a review, just go to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts, type in Circle of Knowledge, and it'll be the blue flame there you see. And then if you pull that up, you can go like and subscribe. We are going live every day, every morning at 8 a.m. That's 8 a.m. Mountain Time. And with that, we do interviews. We do a series of book reviews and discussions, and we just share knowledge. So my challenge for you today, the challenge we always ask our listeners after we share knowledge, is that you focus on helping people by listening to their problems. I'd like for you to go and write down 5 really good questions. And the questions you know are good because they begin with how and why. If your question begins with what, please reconsider. How and why are action-based questions, whereas what is explanation and past based, or in the past. What's another way to describe it? Occurred. I don't know how to describe that, but there you go. I think it's incredible for everybody to use better questions, and then just listen to help. And if it's necessary, you can use the questions you scripted, or if not, you've at least prepared to ask an even better question that comes up in conversation. But I've learned that checking in on people and helping them is one of the most effective ways of building relationships. So I challenge you to make a list of 5 really great how and why questions for the persons you're going to reach out to today. Appreciate you all. Hope you're doing very, very well. I look forward to more opportunities to speak with you, to share knowledge, and to interview the world's best. There we go. Have a great day. And then Rick Denley says, use your mouth and ears in the ratio they are. I love that. I love that quote, and I love that opportunity. Thank you, Rick. And everyone should go check out Rick and his book. We had Rick on our show, and you can go check that out on any of the podcast channels, or you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube and various other sorts. So looking forward to more conversations. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining us on the Circle of Knowledge podcast, everybody.